Hello. It's very nice to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I'm going to show a little bit about what we do in Costa Rica. Our office is called A-01, and there basically is a commercial entity, which is called a company, and a nonprofit part, which is called a foundation. And we are an interdisciplinary office, and we work in urban and rural development, and that is a dialectic that is very important to understand our work. And we are basically working on the implementation of innovative sustainability at different scales. And I want to explain how that works in the context of the No Footprint House. That is the project that we show over here. But first I want to say one of the projects that we did in Costa Rica was in 2010 with the Office for Metropolitan Architecture. We launched a roadmap to carbon neutrality of the entire country. And that was basically a step manual to show how you can decarbonize the different sectors of the Costa Rican economy and downphase carbon emissions from 2010 to 2021, which is now. The plan was widely discussed, and this gentleman here on the left, that is Carlos Alvarado Quesada, the current president of Costa Rica, he finally implemented a plan for the decarbonization of Costa Rica, which is now called the National Decarbonization Plan from 2018 to 2050, which is the new benchmark. So the plan basically shows how you can decarbonize, how you can create more renewable energy, and very importantly so, how you can downphase the different sectors that now create the emissions, the carbon emissions in Costa Rica. So one of those sectors, of course, is construction. And I'm an architect by education, but we work with many different disciplines in the office. And the No Footprint House is the kind of architectural expression of this kind of downphasing of carbon emissions, show how you can get there and show how it can make an interesting architecture that minimizes its footprint on the environment. And basically it's a step manual that we created for different kind of material interventions, different kind of typologies that can be created, residential typologies, and we have created this kind of modular design system that we combine with an inner service core. We have created different kind of facade plugs, that is like additional furniture pieces that can be put into the double-layered facade. And basically with this, we can create these different configurations that I show over here. We have pre-designed typologies that we call the 36, the 81, and the 108. That is basically related to the structural grid size of the project, of the different typologies. And this is the first kind of round of renders that we did when we launched the project. So it's a kind of architecture that opens up to its environment. That's very important for tropical architecture, create this kind of dialogue between inside and outside spaces and fuse the architecture with its surrounding. In order to get there, we have created this kind of facade mechanism which can open up. These were the first sketches. And this was the first prototype of the gate. The gate was kind of one of the more complicated issues to resolve. And all the building is prefabricated in the Central Valley of Costa Rica, from where it is shipped to its target location. This was the building basically when we flat packed it. We put it on a 40-feet trailer. And from there, we sent it to its target location. And this is when it arrived on site the next morning. Basically in the back of the truck, you see the service core that is put onto the pre-established foundations on site. And from there, the building is basically built around the service. The prototype is being built. That's the NFH 108, which is a 2-bedroom typology. And you see the center service core. What was this? You see the service core here in the center, and then all the spaces are built around the service core. Here's a section of the building which basically shows you the principles of bioclimatic architecture that we used. It is an open construction, tropical architecture, tropical modern architecture, and it is based on what we call the principles of bioclimatic design. So that means you have the service core here as this inner accessory which contains bathrooms, kitchen, laundry area, and then you have a natural ventilation that defines the upper part of the building, the upper section. And here you have a detailed section of the facade. You see the relationship of the vertical structural columns and the inclined outer facade, and how we use this space, this kind of space that opens up between the two layers, to create additional space for furniture pieces, and also simply spaces to be, like an extension of the existing space. So here you see like how the building opens up. It works from the inside out and from the outside in, and that is the typical defining element of the structure. This is the same corner from the other side, from the outside basically. And here on the right side, you see the interior rooms. They are basically protected. We also call them cocoons. And they're basically protected by double layers of glass sliding doors and curtain walls. And in the upper section, you see that like the building is permanently left open for natural ventilation. Those natural ventilation flows can be enhanced by mechanical ventilation. You see here on the right side, the ceiling fans, and that is a very good response to the climate. The social areas are left open entirely. They can be closed in terms of security or avoid animals coming in, obviously. And this is an overview of the building as being built in a place that is called Ojocha. Here's a summary of the components that we used for building this first configuration. And basically, I want to show you a little video that you can see how it is to live inside that structure. So for us, it's really this kind of like opening up to the environment, bringing the nature in and turning the spaces inside out so that you offer this possibility of living to a max with the surrounding nature. And I quickly want to say what's next. Like on the one hand side, we're now reproducing these typologies. We have the pre-designed typologies. So the 36, 81, 108 is what we're currently reproducing in Costa Rica. We're still collecting more experience, and then we think also to export it in other regions in the world. There's certain climate adaptation principles that we can have in order to make the building fit for different climates. Also in Costa Rica, we have like 14 different microclimates. So there's elevations up to 4,000 meters, and it's very important to respond to these different conditions by different layers that we can just in this double layered facade that we develop. So like this, we create a high level of flexibility in terms of size, in terms of affordability, in terms of climate resilience. And we also developed a wood system with a Swiss Costa Rican company called Noveltique. And that is something where we can now also offer the different building systems either as a steel structure or as a laminated teak wood structure, which is basically grown in Costa Rica. And that was part of the life cycle assessment that we did in order to show how we can downphase carbon emissions completely and how we can get a net zero building. The wood house is currently being built on this location on the left, and you see it's this kind of like really also intention to blend to a max between a tropical landscape and create an architecture that stands up to it, stands up to this kind of very strong nature, and at the same time blends in without destroying it. So that's the purpose of the project. If you want to see more about our work, here's our address. And I'll leave you with a Costa Rican greeting, which is called Pura Vida. And that's something you say for hi, bye, how is it going? So it's very nice to be here. Very nice to meet you. Pura Vida.